Camp Fusion. A lot of you might know me from serving over the past few years, but if we haven't had a chance to meet yet, hello, I'm Rachel Sibayan, and I live in Houston, Texas, and I attend a church called Grace Abounds Church. I've been coming to camp for a really long time, way before it was even called Camp Fusion, and it's just been so influential in my life as a believer. So I'm very honored to be here with you guys sharing my story. Like many of you guys, I grew up in church. My mom came to know Christ at a young age, and my dad was actually a son of a preacher. And I remember being 4 or 5, repeating the sinner's prayer, and I thought that from that point on I was good. You know, I was a Christian, I sang all the songs, I memorized the verses, I became basically the poster child for Sunday school and Awana clubs and everything. So being church girl was kind of my identity, but I didn't fully grasp what it meant to live a life that reflected Christ. So when I got to middle school, a lot of things changed for me. I was exposed to secular music, secular TV, and I surrounded myself with less than great friends. And before I knew it, I picked up on their bad habits, and I was a gossip, and I had just my nose in everyone else's business. But still, on the weekends, I would go with my family to church. I would be really involved in Sunday school and just going through the motions of what I thought a life as a believer looked like. I thought that as long as I kept those two worlds separate, you know, as long as I was good and as long as I wasn't as bad as the next person, I was okay with God. You know, I could continue living these two lives without any consequences. And this only got worse when I got to high school. I actually remember not adding like my family and some of my church friends to my Facebook or to my MySpace just so I could post whatever I want. It wasn't until my junior year in high school where I realized just how deep in sin I was. I remember being in class with my friends and just having that conversation about like, oh, like what does your parent do and that kind of thing. I remember saying that, oh yeah, like both my parents are nurses and my dad actually is a pastor over like a few churches in the Philippines. And I remember just like the look on their face. They couldn't believe that a girl like me who gossiped, who had just a foul mouth and was just kind of like not nice to people, could be associated with anything religious, and especially not like being a daughter of a pastor. So it was in that moment where I knew that I was a fraud. I was basically living a lie this whole time, and I didn't even know it. So I went to camp that year just like any other year, and by then I kind of knew how the whole camp high worked. I would go to camp, make a lot of friends, feel really close to God, but then I would come back and just fall into the same exact patterns. And so that's what I was expecting was going to happen that year. But what I didn't know is that this year my life would be completely changed. I remember it was a Wednesday night and I felt like the only camper in Miracle Hall that night because I felt like the pastor was directly preaching at me. It had been the same gospel that I had heard so many times before, but something about this time I just felt like the walls that I had built trying to keep God confined in one area of my life were finally breaking down. I remember crying out to God that night and just asking him to give me a new identity. You know, I was tired of living this Hannah Montana life and I just wanted just a clean slate. I had to ask forgiveness for the life of lies that I had been living, and I asked God to just put in my life relationships with people that would point me to him instead of pointing me in the direction of really worldly things. From then on, I graduated from high school, left all of those friends behind, and went to college with a completely new mindset. Of course, you know, I still struggled with trying to make the right decisions about who I associated myself with, but this time I had a much stronger foundation. I knew who I was in Christ, and that influenced what I did and who I was friends with, and it wasn't the other way around. I also ended up starting a Bible study on campus, which eventually bloomed into the first InterVarsity Student Ministries chapter at our university, which to this day still makes me feel so proud and so happy. After college, I graduated, which brings us to learning how to adult today, which of course has brought its own challenges, but I rest in the sovereignty of God and I trust His plan with my life fully. So in closing, one of my favorite verses that serves as a constant reminder to me of my new life in Christ is Galatians 2:20, which reads, "I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me." So yeah, thank you guys so much for hearing me out and hearing my story. I hope you guys are enjoying Camp Fusion so far. Bye!